He doesn't have a fever, but he says his stomach hurts and he's seeing spots. Honey, feel his hands. They're cold and clammy.
Papa?
Oh, fine. What's this? What's his problem?
He doesn't feel well.
Wait, you're letting him stay home? I can't believe this. If I was bleeding out my eyes, you guys would make me go to school. This is so unfair.
Please don't be upset with me. You have your health. Be thankful.
Yeah, right. Dry that one out, you can fertilize the lawn.
Jeannie? Is that you? I can't see that far.
Bite the big one, Junior.
Welcome to Glowburn, a podcast dedicated to the Mutant Crawl Classics role-playing game.
Welcome to Glowburn, the podcast dedicated to the Mutant Crawl Classics role-playing game and old-school post-apocalyptic adventuring. I'm Judge James.
And I'm Judge Marc.
I don't know why you sound sexy. I've just got con-crud. But whatever, on this episode, we're talking GenCon, con-crud, and doing our best to get back into the swing of things without being a pair of snotty messes before the end of this show. But first, there's a rad storm coming, so let's get down in the shelter.
Oh, yeah.
Down in the shelter.
Welcome to Down in the Shelter, where we talk about lots of gaming stuff, or playing stuff, or running stuff, or buying stuff, or writing stuff, or reviewing stuff, or basically all of the stuffs.
There's so much stuff.
There's a lot of stuff. And since this is a Gen Con episode, you know that this section is going to have a lot of stuff. So why don't we start off? Jim, what was your first game of Gen Con?
Huh? I'm sick, man. You know, I want to first say to the Glowburn audience that, you know, me and Marc both are suffering con-crud pretty hard. I'm sitting here with my Bigelow green tea with pomegranate, which is my preferred tea for any time I'm not feeling well. And I am beaten. I don't know, tired still from what has to be the craziest Gen Con I've ever been to. And man, yeah, that was an awesome week. I'm still recovering.
Yeah, I mean, I think I only just returned to my normal sleeping pattern last night.
I'm still not there. I want to be.
Well, I had the advantage of not having to wake up for work, so that helped.
You flew back, too, whereas I had 12 hours of driving to get home.
That is correct. I was in Massachusetts by like 1 o'clock, I think, on Monday. I was at my house by, I don't know, 3 in the afternoon or something.
I got home by 1 o'clock Tuesday in the morning.
Oh, yeah. I've thought about doing the drive thing, but it's a long drive from New England, and I don't like being in a car that much. I mean, I'm one of those guys that, like, I get irritated with my, half an hour commute in the morning, and it's not even like it's heavy traffic.
Sure.
So, yeah, the less I have to be in a car, the better.
All right, so where to start? I think the most important place to start with us is this con was a con that featured a family torn asunder, as my family was pulled into 2 different spheres of influence during this con. So my wife, Jen, who's now the customer support coordinator for Monty Cook Games, she teamed up with Carrie, artiste extraordinaire, while me and Judge Evie did what we did best. We ran some badass DCC for most of the con. I mean, that was pretty much, I only played, I think, 1 game. And that would have been off the books GenCon stuff. I mean, technically, we kicked things off on the Sunday before when I ran a game in Pittsburgh.
I don't think that counts as GenCon.
You know what? It was part of our trip out there, dude. So yeah, it counts.
Okay.
I ran some Stranger Things themed Reliquary of the Ancient Ones for a Mutant Crawl Classic Stranger Things thing. And that was a good time. I was great being back in Pittsburgh and stuff for a day and a half. But I think the first true con game, and you were there,
yes,
was Tuesday night, off the books, X-Crawl Dungeon Battle Delco, a celebration of all things Philadelphia. And that was a good night because we sung the Eagles fight song very loudly in the JW Marriott. That was the national anthem of our game. So that's how I kicked things off with that. So you got in Tuesday.
I got in Tuesday, like mid to late afternoon.
I was there Monday.
Yep.
Same thing.
Yeah. I had fun with that Dungeon Meta Delco thing. I always enjoy a little bit of X-Crawl, and having it as a tournament funnel was an interesting what was it? Audience appreciation night or audience participation night or something?
Yeah. So the adventure that I've put together is usually a first level adventure. However, at least that's how I've run it lately. But for that night, it was audience appreciation night. So it was all 0 level characters from the audience. And I just brought whatever 0 levels I had in a stack from home. So there was some Starcrawl folks in there, some Space Dungeon folks, Crawling Under a Broken Moon folks, regular DC folks, an all dwarves print job. I mean, there's everything was thrown in there.
Yeah, well, I think the conceit of having like audience members jumping into the ring to back up when somebody else dies, it was kind of fun.
I was inspired by a old pay-per-view show called Sugar Ray Leonard's Fight Zone that appeared like in the mid-90s. It was trying to like grab onto the whole Ultimate Fighting Championship thing back when it was cool, where you have like a sumo wrestler fighting a yoga master or something. That might have been Street Fighter 2. I'm not sure. I mixed it. The 90s were a blur for me.
I don't know any of what you're referring to, so I'll take your word for it.
A dude like came out of the audience in that show and started fighting. I think it's happened in wrestling matches too.
That sounds like something that would happen on WWE.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the most memorable part of that evening, though, was Brendan LaSalle popping in for like half of a room and ripping his own arms out.
Yeah, so the characters are fighting these kobolds, these Del kobolds, because Delaware County, it's a Philly thing, if you don't know what it is. They're fighting these kobolds on this castle, and it's a fake castle. It's like a made of styrofoam and, like mats, like gym mats, and like balsa wood or something, or plywood, not balsa wood. That makes more sense. And Brendan's character went over and tried to lift the entire thing. He like squatted down, put his fingers underneath the edge and lifted, rolled a 1. I said he tore both his arms out. So then his next character runs into the scene, runs up the dead corpse of the character, forms the hands of the corpse's arms into fists and starts throwing fist javelins. And it was great.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the most memorable things I saw at the con.
So that was your only gaming Tuesday, right?
Yeah, that was my only gaming on Tuesday.
Take us in how you started things off like Wednesday then.
So, yeah, all right. So Wednesday morning, I got to watch you and Ray play some Frostgrave, which I don't know anything about the game except from what you've kind of mentioned online and your minis and whatnot, the pictures you've sent over. So actually watching the game get played was kind of interesting, and the fact that you don't have to buy like specific miniatures, you can just kind of like cobble together stuff from either existing miniatures collections, or you can go out and buy stuff that you like and you can make your little war band that way. I kind of liked that aspect. It had reminded me of another minis game called Mobile Frame Zero, which is basically like, hey, we have Legos lying around. Let's play a war game with them, which I think is a brilliant idea. But since I don't really have any war game buddies out in my neck of the woods, I don't really do the wargaming thing that much anymore.
I want to do more of it. I really do. So it's sad that like I don't get to play that as much as I'd like, but it's great that I got to play with Ray. He did send me home with all his terrain.
Really?
Yeah, the terrain he printed, he sent me home with it. So
wow.
I got a bunch of terrain now on top of on top of trees.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And you had some stuff that you had already painted up.
A lot of Reaper bones.
Yeah, it's always nice to have a little bit of variety too, so that you're not using like every last piece of your terrain every single match.
Right.
Because then you just get kind of tired.
It's the same scene over and over again.
Yeah, exactly. So after that, I ditched out. I had a 12 o'clock game that was actually on books. They had on books gaming on Wednesday.
I had no idea that was a thing.
I didn't either until I was like just looking for stuff to do, and on a whim, I said, I wonder if there's anything on Wednesday, and sure enough, there was, and I was like, well, holy Moses. So I got to play Mutants and Masterminds, which is a game I used to play a lot of. It was a like DC Universe game where we were all like various Batman side characters. So like I played Nightwing. There was another guy who was Azrael, he took over Batman's mantle for a little while, and there was a bunch of other characters. And we were looking for one of the Teen Titans who had gone missing. And apparently Batman was like not in the city. He must have been away on like Justice League mission or something because he wasn't around.
On vacation.
So it's kind of cool. Yeah, he was on vacay. You know Batman, he takes a lot of vacay.
He has to.
You know, he's been doing it for 75 years, so he gets something like 20 weeks a year or something. But that was cool, but at the same time, it really reminded me of, like, the stuff that I don't like about, like, the old D20 system, which, 3rd edition came out. 3rd edition was the basis of. Pathfinder comes out of that tradition. And there was a butt ton of character feats and all this very kind of fiddly specific bits. And it reminded me that, like, I don't have time for that anymore. As a gamer, like, I need my games to run more quickly and more smoothly and not require that much fiddly bits. So, it was a good time. It was like a 3.5 hour game. That was fun. But at the end of it, I was like, yeah, I'm good with this for another, like, couple of years at least.
Speaking of fiddly bits, did you happen to see anyone's copy of the new Pathfinder? Like Pathfinder 2.0 or whatever?
Pathfinder, the Doorstop edition?
Yeah, so I asked someone, because you're discussing fiddly bits, and my friend Tiago had a copy of it, you know, and I asked to look at it. And I said, so what did they do? Did they, he showed it to me. I think someone else, it was Ray I was talking to, who told me they doubled down on the fiddly bits, on all the crunch. It's crunchier. Feats are at every level. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess that makes sense because Pathfinder has always been vying against D&D, right? They're the two big boys in the room when it comes to, fantasy gaming.
They think they are. They don't have a friggin' gong, though.
Well, I mean, in terms of like market share is what I was referring to.
Yeah, for now.
Yeah, okay. not coolness, but market share. But
we're getting there.
So with D&D 5e seeming to go much more streamlined than 3rd edition and 4th edition, it only makes sense that the Pathfinder folks would say, well, there's a game for people who want streamlined, light rules, and Pathfinder, we're going to double down on crunch for the people who want like the pork rinds of RPGs.
Is that their tagline, that Pathfinder is the pork rinds of RPGs?
It should be, because A, pork rinds are really crunchy, and B, they're awfully delicious.
Ew. So you think Pathfinder's awfully delicious?
No, but
wait.
If you're trying to sell something, you want to put a positive image forward.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
I hear you.
I've never actually played a Pathfinder game.
I smell you switching to Pathfinder now.
I've never played one.
All right. That's how it begins.
I doubt it's for me, based on my, foray into Mutants and Masterminds on Wednesday. But stranger things could happen. I'm going to guess they're not, pretty much at all. But, anything's possible. I did play, a dozen games of 13th Age, my first 2 GenCons.
You really love 13th Age.
It's not a bad game. It's got some things. Did you do any gaming on Wednesday?
Aside from Frostgrave, which ate up most of my morning, I stopped over to the Cypher Unlimited. They're a Discord server. I went to their little party for a while.
They had a party?
Actually, they had a little bit of a thing over at what's that place called? It's like a place where you can do bowling indoors and there's an arcade.
I have no idea.
Something spin room. I
don't know because I didn't even know about the party, let alone where it was.
It's at the mall. It was fun. We went for a little while. It's there where I got a T-shirt with my face on it from my friends Shar and Rob Ergang, and it's the Darker Sun, Dark Harder TV shirt. Nice. With the Die Hard theme on the front of it.
Nice.
But after that, I mean, it was right into prep. I was dinner and then right into prep for the tournament because I was a tournament judge this year. And if you're ever asked to help judge the DCC tournament, there's a lot of work into it besides hours of prep for the adventure ahead of time and play testing it and running it to learn it. There are meetings for it, and I had meetings for that thing Wednesday and Thursday night. I mean, I'll also about the tournament. I know that there's might be more coming out from Goodman about it, so I don't want to say too much. I ran it twice. Both groups were awesome. My group from the very first tournament got through to the end and won. Oh God, was that group?
Oh really?
Featuring 3 players that had never touched DCC before, and were an AD&D first edition guys, and this dude named Jason, which I'd love to link up with him somewhere. He's a great guy. If he's listening to this, dude, you had a great table. But I was very proud of that group because they treated that dungeon with respect. And they got in and got out of there in a really entertaining manner. So I'll say that.
That's always good.
Yeah, it was a really good time. Loved running it. Especially loved running it because running that tournament is so different than running my normal style of gaming where I'm off the cuff. I'm crazy. I'm improvisational. With the tournament, you have to be as close to those rules as you can because everyone has to be equitable. You don't even roll damage. Every attack is a set amount of damage for the judges.
Oh, it's like predetermined, just like on the average or something?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was just really cool. It was really cool. That might be all the time, but that's how it was for this one. There was a really cool crit table. Let's just say there's an awesome crit table, specially designed for that. Okay. And the first hit craters someone's chest. And it's escalating. It's escalating. It gets worse and worse as time goes on. It was great. It was just glorious. A glorious adventure.
That's pretty sweet. All right. So that was what you ran on Thursday morning.
That was Thursday afternoon and Friday morning. So I went off the scales here a little bit and talked about other stuff.
Oh, it's fine.
Let's go to your Thursday.
So my Thursday kicked off with the first of 2 runs through the Assault on the Sky High Tower from the MCC book. I ran them both as funnels. The first day was at 8 a.m. in the basement of the JW Marriott. It was technically the first level and not the basement, but it felt like the basement because you could only get to it from the second level.
Great place to play.
Actually, it was. So I want to say this. I thought when I first found where my room was, I was like, this is kind of shit. Like, I don't know if this is going to be a good place to play. It turned out to be one of the best places in the con because it's like the corner that nobody goes to.
Nice.
And you don't even really have any reason to walk through there unless you have a game. My room on Thursday, there was only one other game happening for the first 2 hours, and by the time I was wrapping up, there was only 2 other games, so there was a total of 4 running by the time I was finishing the adventure. At one point on Saturday, I had the room to myself for the better part of 2 hours. And because it's like in this corner of the convention that nobody needs to go to unless they have a game there, the bathrooms don't get completely disgusting. It was amazing.
The bathrooms are pretty... I found that if you have to use a bathroom at the convention center... the first thing is get a room at the GW Marriott like I did. Yep. And that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, then you can just go back to your room. And
that's great.
Yep.
Do what you gotta do, Leave some stuff behind. Like, that sounds bad. Like, wait, like, that's not how I meant it. I'm sick. Like if you're carrying stuff with you, leave that behind so you can get more stuff.
Correct.
And then leave more stuff behind. But the other thing is that restrooms at the con, it's so much better typically to leave the con and go either into the Omni Severn, the Westin, or the GW Marriott and use those bathrooms than using the con bathrooms, which always smell bad.
Any of the hotels are probably going to have better maintained bathrooms than the conference center itself, but that's also, I think, a matter of volume of use. Yeah. I mean, those conference center bathrooms, they're getting a lot of traffic.
It's hard there.
Yeah, it can be rough.
Yep.
So that Thursday morning game, I only had 4 players show up because it was at 8 a.m., but that was fine. I ended up giving them a total of 20 level zeros. They started off with 3 each, and then at about the halfway point, they had the opportunity to rescue about 8 more characters to bring them up to a total of 20. I killed 17 out of the 20.
Dang.
I was so close to a TPK. And if we had had a little bit more time, I think I probably could have gotten it. But one of the things that I found with Assault is that it can be very difficult to squeeze the whole thing into 4 hours. And I think if I run it again as a funnel or even as a level 1, I'm going to cut some of the stuff early and so that I can add the stuff that's late that's a little bit more interesting. As a funnel, the early stuff, like it gives the, especially if it's new players, it gives them sort of a safe space to kind of figure out like what they're doing, but that's not necessarily a good thing.
Gotcha.
And as a result, like I said, you kind of end up getting a little crunched for time on the back end because both of my groups for that one didn't get to the tower until like the last, hour. And there's a lot to do in the tower itself. So lessons learned.
Sure.
But that was what I ran on Thursday morning. And then I'm trying to think, what did I play on Thursday night? I did something. Oh, I played a Mutant Crawl Classics game from Matt Toll called Old Manimal and the Sea Deck. And it was an adventure that he cobbled together himself, set on the Warden from Metamorphosis Alpha. And apparently it was like the middle of like a series of 3 or 4 adventures. So he had run a funnel earlier in the day, and players from that were invited to come to the next one if they could, if they could get tickets, and they would, be able to play the same character, advance to level 1 and then so forth and so on. It was pretty fun. At one point I got to get a rollerball uniform as armor, which was, pretty much like the best armor ever.
Nice.
Although I couldn't find an actual roller ball to use as a weapon, so a little bit disappointed there. But that was a really cool game, and we got to see some, typically wacky results as usual. What about you? Did you get anything besides the tournament in on Thursday?
So I'm duplicating my Thursday and Friday for this purpose because like both days I ran the exact same schedule but just flipped it. So for instance, Thursday I started with Dungeon Battle Delco, and then I had a break, and then I did the tournament, Greatest Thieves in Lankmar.
Yep.
And then Friday I started with Greatest Thieves in Lankmar, and I ended with Dungeon Battle Delco.
Okay.
So, I think I had 2 games at Dungeon Battle Delco, which again, my Philly game, it's everything Philadelphia thrown in there. And so I've already discussed it a little bit. All I'm going to add to this is that I TPK'd the second group. They actually TPK'd themselves.
Nice.
I still found a way to help them find victory in the end. And I found like they had this glorious TPK moment where they sort of caused it.
Okay.
I don't want to say too much about who appeared, but the adventure, because I'm going to run it, I think it's Save Against Fear. But it was a pretty epic finale for both tables. One where it was glorious success. That was the first table where one of the player characters like invoked the living god, Jim Gardner. Jim Gardner's the anchor of ABC News here in Philadelphia, and he doesn't age. Okay. So I printed a picture of him out and made him into a god for the game, for the cleric. Okay. And the player, Michael, he would hold up the picture of him when he cast his spells. It was wonderful.
Nice.
The second game, they went out sort of, they were doing really well. They were steamrolling that adventure until they just started taking really bad hits, and the last rooms one after another just died and went down. And then in the last scene, the one guy, he had a whistle in his hand. I put this magic whistle in the game, and I had told him early. I just threw it in, just made it up, and I threw it in early and just said, "Hey, the last group who used this whistle won." It helped them in a moment, but when they would use it, it was kind of trapped. It would set off a fireball on themselves, but they got to cast it how they wanted to, like an explosion.
Okay.
And he rolled a 1 on his fireball. And I said, like, listen, dude, you're going to incinerate yourself and everyone around you. I'll let you roll again, though, for how bad the damage is. and he like spell burned into that. So it was like a level 32. It blew the entire room apart. So
that's pretty awesome.
Both the games had wonderful endings.
That sounds like a good way to rock and roll.
So let's talk about our DCC after hours. I'm formatted a little bit differently in how I'm set up compared to what your show notes are.
Yeah, no worries.
So let's go into your Friday, and then I'll discuss the entirety of my DCC after hours experience after your Friday. Because it started really for Friday for us.
All right. Well, as I said, I ran Assault on the Sky High Tower on Thursday and Friday as funnels. Friday was like the flip of Thursday. I had a full table of 6. I gave them way too many characters. I think they had 30 characters total by the end, so that was a bit too much.
Yeah.
That was a mistake on me. And I did not kill nearly enough of them. They ended up with over a dozen survivors, so I feel like I definitely made some mistakes there. But it was a good game. It was very entertaining. I had some folks who were like veterans and folks who were like fairly, some semi-experienced, and some folks who were brand new. So it's always nice to see that kind of mixed group and how well that works. 4 of the guys at that table were like friends, so that was also fun because that brings a different kind of energy to the table. And then I got to play 2 games on Friday. I finally got to try Dark Trails.
Oh, I wanted to talk about how that went, so I'm so glad we can have it do it now.
Yeah, so Dave Beatty himself was running a 0-level funnel called Blood in the Whiskey. Nice. I won't go into any details about the adventure itself, but it was, as a funnel, obviously I didn't get to see any of the classes that he built up for that game. So,
sure.
I got a taste of Dark Trails. I didn't really get to take a full bite though. But the firearm rules we used a ton of. I had a gun. My first attack of the game couldn't have been more than maybe 20 minutes into the session. I went to shoot this 2-headed direwolf thing, and I rolled an ace off the top of the deck. So when you shoot a gun, you have a deck of cards.
Yep.
And aces and eights are like super fumbles basically, and then face cards do other things. And the gun exploded in my character's hand and killed him because it was a funnel, and he only had 3 points, and it did D6 damage, and I basically died. So that character bit the bucket very early, and it's a shame because that was the good 0 that I got, as opposed to the other 0 who was a little bit more 0-y. But said other character who was a little bit more 0-y ended up surviving the rest of the funnel and was pretty much a badass by the end. So, it was very funnily in that respect. We had a heck of a game, though. I don't know if you've ever played with Job Bittman.
No, I've not played with Job, no.
So he was at the table, and I don't know if that was just Job being Job or Job messing with Mr. Beatty, but let's just say that game went off the rails in all of the best ways.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was really fun. That was my afternoon game. I think that was 2 to 6 o'clock or something. I took a quick break to run out and grab a meal from the food trucks. Got myself a halfway decent Cuban sandwich. And then I played in the high-level DCC adventure, and I'm calling it high-level because I think level 6 is pretty high.
That's pretty potent.
Yeah, and it's Imprisoned in the God Skull, which I believe was Michael Curtis, and I think that came out either last GenCon or at GaryCon, one or the other. And that was pretty fun. It was, according to the judge, he cut down to basically the 25% of the most essential parts of the adventure. And he said that normally you could run 3 or 4 sessions worth of material off of that book. And I believe it. There was a lot going on that I feel like we didn't really fully tap into what the bigger story was. We were just kind of moving from point to point to point in reaction to a lot of stuff. But it was really fun because anytime you play level 6, you get 2 action dice. You can do stuff with your characters that you can't do in lower level play. My thief would use his higher action die to sneak into a position of advantage, and then he would use his lower action die, which I think was a D16, and he would make a sneak attack from there, which you would think would be a bad thing. But his backstab bonus was so high that it was actually better than rolling a D20, because it was effectively it was a D16 plus 5 instead of a D20. And of course you have a higher % chance of getting that critical max result. Although it's automatically backstabs are automatically a critical anyway. So that was really fun. Anytime you get to play with the higher level characters.
Yeah.
And then we had a group of, I think it was 3. I think it was either a guy and his 2 kids, or it was a guy and his son's friend. But they had very limited DCC experience, and like one of the sons was he took the warrior, and I was like trying to explain to him like what the mighty deeds did, and like once he got it, like, he really got it. And he was like making sure to use them every turn. He did a lot of stuff like sweeping the legs to bring characters down so they were prone. And, he really kind of latched on to the fact that he was, getting that extra damage as well as that extra attack. And I think he really enjoyed that. The other kid was playing a wizard, could not goad him to do much spell burn. So that was a little disappointing because I don't think he ever got a chance to like really tool out a crazy high level result. But they both seemed to really enjoy it, and the table in general was just really good, and it was a nice opportunity to play some DCC that wasn't just like level 2 or 3, which seems to be the common spot, I'll call it.
Sure. I know why I do it. I mean, because I always have DCC newbies at the table.
Yep.
And I think it's easier to ease them in at lower level. I've run some higher level. The tournament characters were either level 3 or level 4.
Nice.
You get to pick. Because the 3rd level characters had better stats. It was either 3rd level characters with great stats or 4th level characters with mediocre stats.
Oh, interesting. So the players made that choice, or the GM made that choice?
Players. There were 10 PCs to choose from. 5 3rd level, 5 4th level. Essentially 4 warriors, 4 rogues, and 2 wizards. And so if you want to have, the 3rd level thief from the Mingle Steppes who had great stats,
sure,
you could. If you want to play a character that has a few more hit points and is more experienced, you could also. And it was a good mix.
That's really interesting. I'll have to go back and look through the tournament packet, next year, I guess, when it's in the program, the yearbook, whatever they call it.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I'd like to see like what that choice made. Like forced the players to make, because that sounds really interesting.
I believe the group that finished it, I believe the majority of them were 3rd level.
Nice.
I think it was 3 3/3 and a 4th.
Nice. Yeah, the wizard, I can see maybe you want to do the higher level character.
Yeah, I think the 3rd level had a higher spellcasting roll. More spells with the 4th level.
Like a better intelligence. You mean?
I think an intelligence thing was 17, whereas the other character had intelligence of 12.
Oh wow, okay.
So it made a difference.
Yeah, no, that does. I was thinking more of opportunities, like choice of spells, like the higher level wizard would have more spells, but no, that makes sense that you'd maybe go for the better chance to actually cast the limited spells you have.
Right. So I'm going to go into, again, I'm not bound by time or space because you'll find out why in a little bit, but I'll talk about GenCon a bit, after hours, because Friday night's when I got to play Meat Planet. Thursday night, I was in a post round 1 meeting for the tournament, and Judge Evie got to play in Meat Planet. So on Friday, we got over there a little bit late and joined Meat Planet a bit late. And we weren't going to go over Friday night. I was actually kind of tired. I was at the Marriott with, my friend Ray and Shannon and their kids. And Jen was at the Ennies, because she's all swag now, right? She's all like fancy.
Fancy schmancy.
She can hear me. I was just going to hear me or not. Did you hear that, Jen? So fancy, that's what she said. Hector can pick up on that there. So nope. She was at the Ennies, and Carrie was hanging out with some friends of theirs, all in the Cypherverse. And Judge Evie and I went over on Friday. We weren't going to go, and then she kept asking me, please, 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 after hours. And I'm like, okay. So we went over to after hours, and Meat Planet is amazing. It was so much fun. We were late, but what we did play was a lot of fun. And I don't know what you could make it similar to, but you're on a planet. It's made of meat, and my character was like a meat clone of someone who died, and the Meat Planet brought me back to con the rest of the party into going into these pods and being jettisoned into space as new meat planets.
Oh, Jesus.
Or no, new Doom planets. because this is all a series. If there was the adventure where you'd escape from Planet Punjar. There's Punjar 50K or 60K, escape from Planet Punjar because the Doom planet's coming, and then Meat Planet is the sequel to that.
Okay.
So,
all right,
Judge Evie ran it on Saturday night. She GM'd it on Saturday, which was kind of nuts because she was running the game for other industry professionals that we talked into coming over to the event. So Jen brought her friend Bear over from Monty Cook Games, and then my friend Scott Woodard, who writes for Pinnacle Entertainment Group, writes for a lot of stuff, but he's like the dude that wrote much of, I think all of, the Flash Gordon RPG for Savage Worlds. So big DCC fan, by the way, but they were in Evie's game, as well as my friends Ethan and Mark, and not you, Mark, different Mark, and Jen. So it was a good game. It was a fun after hours event. So cool. That's my after hours recap. If you're new to the GenCon scene and you're listening to this, and maybe whether it's now, which is August of 2019, or it's the future and you're listening to this episode, and you have not been to Gen Con and you're going for the first time and you are into Dungeon Crawl Classics, or even if you're not, or Mutant Crawl Classics, go try the after hours events at Embassy Suites, because it's always 8 o'clock start typically. Doug Kovacs coordinates it. He puts it together. It's a great time.
Doug Con was actually mentioned in the Goodman Games brochure.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So it's becoming like a real thing as opposed to like an underground thing.
It's more official.
Yeah. It's officialer. I think that's a word. Sure.
So let's go into Saturday then. To go into your back on your timeline. We'll talk Saturday.
So my Saturday is actually pretty short. I had one game. So I ran Warlords of Ataz as a 3rd level adventure for Mutant Crawl Classics. I had a table of 6 with 2 utter noobs, 3 semi-experienced with MCC, more experienced with DCC, and 1 guy who said, and I quote, "I've heard about your GMing." And when I pressed him at the end of the session as I was packing up, he said, "Oh, I had a game yesterday with Judge James, and he said, 'Oh, you're going to love it. You'll die.'" I don't know if you remember saying that to somebody, Jim, but...
Who did I say that to?
I have no idea. I don't remember his name. But it was a really, really good session, because the people that were new to DCC were very clearly not new to gaming. And they immediately jumped like full on into role-playing their characters. One was a rover and the other was a manimal, and they were like, the guy was playing his rover as like, not terribly smart, but very like unearned confidence, man of action. And he was kind of doing part of my job for me, which is he was making sure that the group was never standing still for too long.
Okay.
And his wife was playing the manimal, which was a lion in this instance. And she was like jumping into the weeds and stalking prey. And it was kind of glorious to see 2 people who'd never played the game before really dive into the characters, right from the get-go. Never mind what their characters could do, just really dive into the role-playing side of it. That session was notable because I had 2 characters back-to-back fail their radiation saves on a 1. I had the mutant and the manimal at the table both spontaneously mutated new powers, like right in the middle of combat. And it was like, the first time it happened, they were all like, what just happened? Like, he rolled a 1 on his fortitude save. What does that mean? Like, and I was giddy. Like, I grabbed up my book and I'm flipping through it and I'm like, I need this roll and I need this roll and I need this roll. And like, they were like, their eyes were getting wider with every new roll that I asked for. Oh. And then I said, all right, and here's what happens. And it was like, the air around you begins to shimmer as a force field coalesces around your body, providing 30 points worth of armor, damage absorption. And they were all like, holy moly, that's so awesome. So it was really cool. The last hour of the game, I basically freeformed the whole thing because we were running out of time, because they kind of debated a little bit too long on what to do while like stalking some of these warlords. And so I said, all right, well, I'm going to make a roll to see if they noticed and they did. We actually got like the result where the warlords were like, what? And they basically started combat immediately. So that could have been something that didn't take as long. It ended up being quite a sizable combat right in the middle of the game. So we kind of freeformed the end of it, but they actually split the party like 4 ways, and I managed to draw them all back into the same location in the Temple of Atos, and came out with a really satisfying conclusion that like the whole party was, very excited by. So I think I nailed it on that one.
That's great.
And then after that, I basically had the rest of the day free. I didn't have any games as a GM. I didn't have any games as a player. I walked around the dealer hall quite a bit. We'll get to that stuff later. And then I went to GenCon fairly late. I want to say I got there at like 8:30.
Yeah, I was messaging you, and you're like, I'm like, you coming? And you're like, oh, I'm trying to rally. Then 17 seconds later, you're at a table with Jen Brinkman.
Well, and I will say, so Indy had, like, the last GenCon, I was adjacent to the con, so it wasn't a big deal. Like, you just get out of your hotel, you walk across the sky bridge, and you're there. This year, I was like 3 blocks away at like a different hotel entirely, and so I had to walk every dang day, both directions, and it was kind of wearing on me. I think that was part of the reason why I was so dang tired. But they have these like 2-wheelie scooter things that are have electric motors.
Yeah, it's new.
And I finally broke down on Saturday and I tried one. And in addition to not being terribly expensive, I mean, it was like, I don't know, like $3 for me to go from my hotel to like the embassy.
Not bad.
It was super fast and it was kind of fun because you're like, kind of like if you're on a motorcycle, like you're going very fast with no effort and there's not a whole lot between you and falling down and getting a lot of blood. So it was pretty cool. So I had stripped down my gaming gear to literally a writing utensil and the bare minimum set of dice I needed, shoved those in my pocket and hopped on a scooter. And that's why it took an apparent 17 seconds for me to get there.
It was so fast.
Yeah, it was pretty good. So that was, I mean, my Saturday was almost quiet, relatively speaking. What about you?
My Saturday was unlike anything I've done before on a Saturday. So
Ooh.
I stacked up all my gaming Thursday and Friday. I don't know if I'll do that again because I missed out on some shopping. I was really in a rush to shop. My shopping time was really on Friday between around 10:30 and 2 because I TPK'd my second party in the DCC tournament. I TPK'd 2 tables of people this con.
Nice.
They actually TPK'd themselves.
Well, don't they usually? I mean...
Yeah. No, I mean, sometimes it's the dice, but they literally made bad choices. And that's what happened here.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, they died the way you would die in a normal role-playing game, which is bad choices upon bad choices upon bad choices. In DCC, the dice can still get you. Mm. So after waking up, obviously, was I relaxed. I had a leisurely, stroll over to getting Evie sit in the she was running the booth at the DCC booth, the Goodman Games booth. I got Jen where she had to go and Carrie where she had to go, and I ended up walking 12.4 miles that day.
Dang.
Because I was always walking somewhere. Yeah. I was walking into the dealer hall. I was doing shopping. I was running back out. I was getting lunch for people. Over and over and over again. Well, a lot of that walking, I was walking not as myself, but as a new cosplay character that I've come up with. Because since we were right downtown, where we're staying, right next to the con, and since my daughter Carrie is such a big cosplay fan, she was playing as Lydia Dietz from Beetlejuice that day.
Oh, okay.
I joined her walking around the hall in costume and in the parade as my new DCC avatar and all Yinz's patron, Mucosatron Rex, Slime Sorcerer of the Seven Circles and Slug God of Sagittarius A.
Which I will say, you're going to need to do stats, like full patron stats now, you realize.
I may have done stats for here in Glowburn.
You may have, but you're going to have to do full patron stats.
No, I would like to do full patron stats for Mucosatron Rex. So if there's a desire for that from the audience, please tell us, more Mucosatron Rex. Who can be in DCC or MCC? I was considering giving him stats like powers, like mutations as well as DCC powers. Make him like a he's not an AI. That wouldn't work. But anyway.
Yep.
So if you see any pictures of someone with a slug mask on, a wizard robe, so Hector Cruz, he got me the mask. Okay. So, that slug mask, it's a banana slug mask, if that makes... I don't know what a banana slug is.
It's a type of slug. Presumably they like bananas.
Okay. So he got me that for my birthday. But even cooler is the robe. And the robe, his wife Tiffany made me that. And that was awesome.
Yeah, it's a good looking piece.
I wore the robe with the slug mask. And to really top off the costume, I stopped by and bought a staff that I'll talk about later in the show. But I bought this special crescent moon staff. And that was pretty cool. And I was actually in the costume. I was asked to do some stuff for the Dark Master. I was summoned by the Dark Master to give out awards and lead the procession of the gong on Sunday from the tournament room to the exhibitor hall, with them banging the gong, with me walking ahead of everyone in the slug costume. So if you see the slug costume, that's full on DCC. Next year, I'd like to have the costume parade again, but with someone holding the DCC core book ahead of us with like incense burning. And the year after that, we're going to have all of that, the slug costume, and we're going to sacrifice a live goat in the exhibitor hall.
They may not let you do that last thing.
Speaking of sacrificing live goats, let's talk about Sunday.
So Sunday, yeah. So Sunday, I definitely felt like sacrificing a live goat because I was starting to run out of steam at that point.
Were you done? Were you conned out at that point?
I wasn't quite conned out at the beginning of the day, but by the end of it, I was very conned out. So Sunday morning, I ran the last of my 4 MCC games. I ran Warlords of Atos the second time. I think it was a table of 4. It was either 4 or 5. Most had at least some degree of DCC experience, if not MCC experience. That session was also like a lot of improv and role play, and they ended up taking a rather unique approach to dealing with ATOS, and they basically took one of the manimal, like the manimal in the group had all these cool like telepathic powers and everything, and they said that they captured this creature and that it was being worshipped by a local village as their god, and so they felt that ATOS would want to personally execute him rather than just like them gunning him down, because, you know, you need a god to kill a god. So they were able to bluff their way into an audience with ATOS using that ruse, at which point all heck broke loose because the shaman decided to spell burn themselves down to like 2s and invoke Mangala, who is like the patron AI of warfare and you know, death and destruction. And yeah, things got real, yo. So that was a pretty good game. Went over after that to the Goodman room where the 127, 128, where most of the games for Goodman go, where they had the drawing, the lotto, the prize allotments, all that stuff. You know, that was pretty good. And after that, I kind of hit the dealer hall for a little bit longer, and then I went back to my hotel and I got some dinner and I packed because I knew I had an early flight on Monday. So I ended up having to get, I think I left my hotel at like 7:30 or 8 o'clock in the morning to get to the airport in time. So, yeah. So that was my Sunday. It wasn't terribly exciting. What about you?
I mean, my Sunday, I kind of already talked about it, think about it, because, I mean, it was just getting ready for that 2 o'clock stuff as the slug. I mean, yep. I did some more light shopping, did some more light eating. I took a pretty easy Sunday, saw more people, hung out with Jen a bit where I could. Again, didn't see my wife very much. Hung out with Evie a bit. I did leave out from Saturday was Judge Evie ran a game. So I got to step back, and she ran the mall on Saturday afternoon. And when she ran it, she used these, they're called like My World toys. And it was like a mock-up of a full pink mall. And she had that all set up, and she had a really good table of that. A lot of onlookers of the game, so I think she drew some attention to the game. But I don't think, did she GM anything on Saturday? No, she just worked the booth on Saturday, really. So, or Sunday. So it was a nice, relaxing end of our con.
Yeah,
which is
Yeah.
You know, all good things have to come to an end, right? So...
Yeah, you'd rather it be kind of relaxed than frenzied, right?
Right.
Well, I think we've hit just about all of the gaming that we could possibly have squozed into this. Why don't we move on and discuss all other things Gen Con, shall we?
I think we should.
The Great Disaster.
All right, we're going to change things up and go straight into the Great Disaster here and continue our Gen Con 2019 discussion with a little bit of, I don't know, called Q&A. We're going to cover a couple more topics about the con. Next episode of Glowburn, we're going to do an All Voices of the Ancient Ones episode. So I don't know time-wise, you'll have, by the time this releases, we'll already have our questions, but don't fret. If you have questions for me or Judge Marc, send them in and we will read them on the air. And you're going to send your questions to glowburnpodcast@gmail.com. But we'll discuss it again later. So let's go into this Q&A here, and I'm going to start, okay? Marc, what was the coolest thing that you saw at the con?
So... yeah, that's a tough question, which is amusing since I was the one who put it in the show notes. Ultimately, I think for me, when I go to these cons, it's not about that sexy new RPG that everybody's talking about, or, you know, even the dice or the board games. Like, for me, it's seeing the stuff that I don't otherwise normally see. Where I live in Massachusetts, there's not a very big wargaming scene, at least at my friendly local game store. So when I go and I see these wargaming displays, the big models, sometimes, 2 and 3 foot tall display models that aren't actually like miniatures for the games, but just like the really professionally painted minis, the whole dioramas where they've got like the top-notch terrain and they've got all the minis laid out in the terrain, all of that stuff. It's just so cool to see, like, this is what miniatures gaming could be if you have like a top-notch community where you live. And I kind of wish that I had that. Unfortunately, I don't in this area, but that's okay. My wallet thanks me for that. I went by the Fantasy Flight Games booth. They had some of their Star Wars X-Wing stuff displayed. I don't play that anymore. I still have my old stuff, and every once in a while I'll haul it out for friends, but I don't like collect anymore.
I don't either.
But they also had the Super Star Destroyer scale for model for the Armada game, which I never got into. But it's like 2.5 feet long. The thing is massive.
It's not to scale still, though, right? Because
I don't think it's to true scale, but it is pretty close because their Star Destroyer, like the Super Star Destroyer, was supposed to be, I think, 5 times the length of a standard Star Destroyer, depending on what source you go to. And their Star Destroyer is, I would say, roughly 1/5 of the length.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I saw it. It was, but from a distance, it was huge. Because
Yeah.
I too have stopped playing X-Wing.
Yeah. When they went to 2nd edition, I was like,
That's where I lost me. They lost me at 2nd edition. I was done.
I wanted to like it, but it didn't do enough for the money that they were asking me to put in, considering how little I got to play it already.
Right.
It was just too much of an ask. What about you, Jim? What did you see that was pretty badass?
My coolest thing at the con. All right. Besides Dwarven Forge builds, because I hover on the Dwarven Forge section, I do want so much to be more of a miniatures gamer, like for war games, but like the low scale stuff, like Frostgrave.
Yeah.
I do intend to play a lot more Frostgrave this year. Aside from that, I have to say the coolest things I saw, the coolest here, is I got a copy of a Dungeon Crawl Classics role-playing game. It's a quick start rules and it's a GM screen.
Okay.
It's the coolest thing.
That's cool.
Yeah. Well, why wouldn't it be cool?
What makes it cool?
What makes it cool is my friend Tiago got it for me, and he's from Brazil, and they're in Portuguese.
Okay. So is that the one with the red cover with
Oh my God, the cover is so amazing.
the T-Rex ape?
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's a T-Rex gorilla. And then the screen is a harder material, much more akin to
Like a book cover.
like a Savage World screen or a 5e screen. It's pretty heavy duty.
Yeah.
So, Tabela de Critico 1. Todos os Personagens. I can't speak Portuguese.
Yeah,
but this is the coolest thing I got at the con.
That's cool.
I had to trade him something, so I gave him. I sent him home with the dice that TPK'd the one party.
Oh,
because we got given dice as judges.
Oh, nice.
We had to use the same dice for the tournament, and the one D20 rolled like 7 20s in a row, or something. not in a row, but really quickly. So those dice have gone down south to kill player characters on
another continent.
Yeah, another continent.
Nice.
I get a huge kick out of that personally.
That is really cool. That is really cool. Okay.
Next question.
Yeah, let's talk about buying stuff. So,
sure.
I mean, obviously, there's a lot of stuff to buy. But it's usually the impulse purchases at the low level where you get to, talk about the weirdest and most interesting stuff. So what was the best thing that you never intended to have purchased when you went to the con, but you bought for less than $25?
I kind of read this wrong. I was putting in answers last night. So my first answer for this was terrain for Frostgrave. This is really the miniatures con for me that my friend Ray gave me. So I guess that's not really a purchase now, is it?
But it is less than $25.
It is definitely less than $25. I usually buy dice at the con. I didn't. I looked around for miniatures, and I bought all those before I went to the con at a game store in Pittsburgh. This is not a big shopping con for me. So I will say that for me, what I purchased, I don't know, it was very targeted.
Sure.
And none of this stuff would count. So I would say it's under $25. It wasn't a purchase, unless you want to count the fact that I purchased Ray's friendship at my first GenCon. That doesn't make any sense. So my answer to this question sucks. I can't narrow it down. I had really no impulse purchases at the con. You know what? That's not correct. My best purchase I didn't intend to make at the con, less than $5, is I had like the best vegan fried chicken at the con ever.
Okay.
There were these vegan fried chicken cutlet patty things that were made of like morphed faux chicken. So it's CHIK''N. Didn't intend to eat there. Went out with Scott Woodard and Joan Troyer. Went to dinner with me and Carrie and Evie. It was like Thursday night. And that was, I didn't intend to buy that food. I bought that food. It was great. So
cool.
So Mark?
Well, I think obviously I could say the DCC nunchucks at $20. Like, I certainly didn't know that they were going to be there. I certainly didn't plan to buy them, and yet somehow they were there for less than $25. But I won't say the DCC nunchucks. And they won't, because anybody who knows me well knows that I have a significant dice problem. And that it extends, especially when we're talking about really big dice. And I was walking by a booth. I don't know what the booth was. I could not tell you. But they had, and I swear, this thing's at least a 50 millimeter, if not larger. It's a D20. It's actually a spin down or a countdown D20, like you would use for like Magic the Gathering or something.
Why is that different?
So it's numbered in order rather than numbered randomly or distributed.
Okay.
So like the 2 is next to the 1, the 3 is next to the 2, the 4 is next to it's so on forth and so on. So it's meant to be able to go from, spin down or spin up accordingly. But I stopped and I saw this thing. It's like a pearlescent gold. It's the size of a tennis ball, like realistically. And I was like, okay, I wonder how much that's going to be. And they said it was $10. And I'm like, well, I can't not buy that now. It's $10. So, unfortunately, because I have a dice problem, that was, for me, the coolest thing. Because now I have a die the size of a softball that only cost me $10.
Nice.
Yeah. I have a bit of a problem.
So would that count as your biggest purchase of the con? What was your biggest purchase of the con?
Biggest purchase. So if we're talking physically largest or monetarily largest, I think the answer is the same. I was at the MCG booth just for Gits and Shiggles, and I saw that they had some of the Numenera bookends that they did with not the last Kickstarter, but the last Numenera Kickstarter. And I had not backed for them or added them as an add-on because I was like really unsure, because bookends can be such a low quality item if they're not put together right. And while I certainly, I wouldn't have expected MCC to get crummy bookends, it's one of those things you kind of want to see it before you buy it.
Absolutely.
So they had some, and they were like, they had a decent weight to them. They were a good size. They looked really sweet. And they were selling them at the con with free shipping so that you didn't have to carry around a box full of bookends.
I didn't realize they did that.
Yeah. So I bought, but I have not received the Numenera bookends. And that was probably the largest physical and monetary single item that I purchased. What about you, Jim?
My Crescent Moon staff, from
Nice.
Forged Foam, which I can use to beat people with because it's LARP ready. It was $120.
Nice.
And it was funny because I went and picked it. Well, my wife got the receipt for it. It's like, well, I guess he bought something at Forged Foam. Mm-hmm. So it was my second purchase of Forged Foam for the trip because the first purchase was a new shield for my son Cooper. He likes the Forged Foam stuff.
Sweet.
My second biggest purchase. I, too, spent the most money at the Goodman booth. My second biggest purchase was purchasing for my friend Tim. I helped him out, and I picked up a Egyptian Lich cover DCC core book for him, which we'll send that to him. And then personally, I got a copy of the hardback Chain Coffin. I love the Chain Coffin.
Color or foil?
There was a different kind? Oh, crap.
Yeah, they had a foil and they had a cover. A color cover.
Yeah, I got the color cover. Yeah, that's fine.
That's what I got from the Kickstarter. I actually like the art on the color covers more often than I do the foiling on some of those.
I really like that foil lettering on the DCC Lankmore box set, though, man.
Yeah, that like prismatic foil.
It's so cool.
I would like to see like a leather-bound book with that style foiling instead of like just the standard silver. Or gold.
I want to have one where you open the box up and it smokes like the city of 7,000 smokes. Like it just smokes.
That might be difficult, but you could certainly get one like a box set or even a book that has the little like the talking greeting cards.
Sure. You open it up.
You could have something like that where you open it up and like Michael Curtis laughs at you as you open it.
Oh, that'd be just so cool.
Maybe we should see if we can't make that happen.
Or you take his straight out of Lankmar shirt and make it the straight out of Lankmar cover.
There you go.
Next question. Favorite purchase of the con?
Oh, yeah. This one's tough because obviously none of the stuff that I bought I've had much chance to use yet. So I'm going to go with a completely practical and somewhat boring purchase. There's a group of folks or a business called Pens and More. They've been at the last like 6 Gen Cons. I'm assuming they're there every year. But they basically make like really high-end pens and pencils out of like exotic woods or other crazy materials. I bought myself a new pen that I can use at work. It should be thin enough that it can fit in the loop of my notebook, which currently all of the pens I have at work do not fit in the loop of my notebook. And so they stick out where I walk between meetings. And it's been one of those things that kind of irritates me. So, it may not be like super cool dice or like, a foam laser sword or something, but, I think I'll get a lot of use out of it. So, yeah. So that I think is going to end up being my favorite purchase of the con, or it's certainly going to end up being the purchase that gets the most mileage. What about yourself?
All right. So I was originally going to say the nunchucks because I wrote that down in the show notes. I love the nunchucks. I think that more role-playing games should have weapons, that you can actually swing around and hit people with, maybe,
That's called LARP.
I know, but more okay. But anyway, I did connect with Doug at the booth at the con after Meat Planet and was looking for Meat Planet shirts and the Hobonomicon, and I got my copy of Hobonomicon there, which is for Meat Planet, which is really cool, but they didn't have the shirts in my size, which is, unfortunately, I've gone up a size. So I connected with him and I asked if I could purchase them after the con, and he was cool with that. So I believe I have 2 Meat Planet shirts in the mail.
Sweet.
As of today.
Sweet. Are they made out of actual meat?
Yes.
Sweet. You and Lady Gaga.
Yep.
All right. We get a couple more here. So, favorite non-gaming event, which I didn't even know that there were such a thing, so I don't have an answer for this, but Jim, it looks like you do.
Aside from the DCC awards ceremony, I really liked the DCC University.
So what was that
event?
Because I did not know about that.
Harley Stroh was the MC for it, and up at the front was leading it was Jen Brinkman, Haley Skatch, and Brendan LaSalle.
Okay.
And they went through running events, running con games, running DCC adventures, just tips, tricks, things like that. And, Evie and I went. And even though I like to think I've run a lot of games, it's always cool to hear other people's, just the way they run adventures. I really got a kick out of that. And so did Evie. So it was a nice relaxing, that was Friday after me running back-to-back games. It was a nice way just kind of like to chill,
So it was Friday. That might be why I didn't know, because I had gotten into Friday games.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool.
It was at 6 o'clock Friday.
Oh, yeah. I was grabbing lunch or dinner between games.
All right. So biggest great disaster of the con.
Oh, other than con-crud? I think for me, it was somehow this con, it's so weird. Like, given the amount of free time I actually had, like, I didn't have anything going on after, I think, 6 on Thursday. I didn't have anything going on after 2 on Saturday. I still basically saw almost nobody. There was so much, like, free time that I could have spent with friends that I largely did not, and I don't really know specifically why. Generally speaking, it was because I didn't know where people were. I didn't know what was going on. You mentioned that there was like a cipher thing on, I think, Wednesday evening, you said. I had no idea that was a thing. I didn't know where to go to get the information to find stuff.
Well, the cipher thing, you didn't GM stuff on Wednesday evening.
I did. Yes, that is correct.
Oh, you mean like the thing where an evening with Monty Cook, where you got to Monty Cook Games?
No, I was talking about that Discord thing that you were talking about.
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't know that was a thing. Granted, I don't really do Discords.
That wasn't an official.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
official.
That's what I'm talking about. Like the off-book stuff. Like, I basically barely saw any of the Cypher folks at all. I only saw some of the folks from DCC because I went to DougCon on Saturday, which that's all good and fine. It's just, I was surprised at how little time I spent there and how tired I was the whole con. I think that was part of it too, was I was just exhausted, having to walk like basically a mile at the start of every day and then do the same at the end of every day was starting to take its toll, I think. So that's what it was for me. I just, I feel like there was a lot of missed opportunities at this con. What about you?
I think the biggest disaster of the con was that there was this gap throughout the event, and we didn't know what it was at first. So every time I'd hang out with some people, something didn't feel right. And kind of when we were playing Frostgrave that morning, something was off. When I went out the bar with Ray and Shannon, something didn't feel right. DougCon didn't feel right one of the nights. And what it was Jen wasn't there because we've like full on lost Jen to another game company. And I didn't realize what that would be like, not having her around. Because usually we're like connected pretty close at con stuff, after hours stuff especially. She's not a big gamer, but she will do a lot of the gaming. I don't know. She'll occasionally game. I mean, she's played in Dark Trails and Gary Con stuff, but her being now an industry professional, it definitely changed the way we did this convention. So I hate to say it's a disaster, but on the DCC front, it sure is, because she's over there. But I was like throwing some digs in. I see some of the Monty Cook Games folks. They'd be like, I would say things like, "Hey, does your game have nunchucks?" Because we do,
Oh, but to be fair, most games do not have nunchucks.
That's true.
I mean, the DCC folks are exceptional for their nunchucks.
That's true.
Nunchuckery.
There's a nunchuck class now.
There is.
Yeah, it's in the. It is in the the DCC GenCon, guide. It's in there. It's like a nunchuck warrior.
Oh yes, no, I did see that. It was like, it was like a nunchuck. I think it was Nunchuck Warrior is what it was called. Yeah. So there you go, folks. If you've got the guide, go and take a look at it. You can be a nunchuck warrior.
All right. Well, let's wrap things up to Mutagenesis, do the last bit here, and we'll be wrapping up here.
Mutagenesis.
Welcome to the Mutagenesis, where we take, crazy stuff and stat it up for MCC use. I mean, it used to be like media, but now it's just crazy crap from our heads.
It's whatever we want to do, man.
Yeah. Jim, kick us off. What do you got?
I'm phoning this one in, okay?
Hopefully not literally.
So I'm pretty lazy, so here's what I got. I came up with some basic stats from Ukosatron Rex, the Slime Sorcerer of the Seven Circles, and Slug God of Sagittarius A. All right, so he's a 10th level chaotic wizard with like pretty much all the spells. Okay, he's in all the spells. In fact, under spells, right, all the spells. All right,
of course.
His stats are all 18s, and I guess you want some mechanics, right? Should I have mechanics?
I mean, that is sort of the point.
All right.
They're like statting things up, right?
Ukosatron Rex is cool because you can add, actually, you know what? We're going to give you something special today. We're giving you a character, a game mechanic, a monster, a creature, a foe, a friend, a good friend if you really like slugs. We're giving you something that will work in any single game you have. So whether you're playing, Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, or you're playing Invisible Sun by Monte Cook Games, which, I gotta say that now that Jen's over there. Whatever you're playing, this will work for you, okay? So here's the rules from Ukosatron Rex. All right, when he enters any system, when he enters any game, due to his power of time and slime, the game mechanics of that campaign automatically transform into DCC RPG, and B, anyone who tries to face him immediately gains all of the abilities of a random 0-level character, okay? So, if Ukosatron Rex goes into your D&D 5e campaign, your D&D 5e campaign rules now shift to DCC RPG. Okay, it's pretty easy. If he goes into your Savage Worlds Deadlands game, now your Deadlands game is running off of DCC RPG. So really, you can use him in any campaign, right? That's sort of how that works, isn't it?
I mean, kind of.
Okay, cool.
I guess.
So when he encounters like your super powered, not you, I don't know why I'm saying you, because y'all play DCC and MCC here. But when he encounters a like D&D 5e super powered min-max to hell 20th level ranger, that 20th level ranger becomes a 0-level gong farmer. Okay, all the stats, all the equipment, everything. It just poof, gong farmer, poof, gong farmer.
Is it always a gong farmer?
No, sometimes it is a corn farmer.
Okay, just checking.
So that's it. It's Ukosatron Rex. That's how it rolls.
So that's his stats as an NPC, folks. If you want Jim to stat up Ukosatron Rex as a full patron, you need to write in and create like a campaign on, whatever that, signature website thing is, like a petition thing.
Twitter?
No, you know what I'm talking about. It's the thing that everybody does when like somebody gets cast in a movie now and that they don't like.
GoFundMe?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. At any rate.
What do you got, Mark?
I have a thing that came from a weird intersection between science and human nature. So okay. I was watching, I think it was the Indy 500 earlier this year, and there was a crash, and one of the drivers jumped out of his car, and it didn't look like he was on fire because alcohol, like the high alcohol content fuel that those cars burn, like in daylight, you really can't see the flames, but it looked like he was slapping at his arm as though he was on fire. So like the fire crew basically just hosed him down anyway. And I laughed initially because it looked kind of like what happens when somebody walks through a spider's web they didn't see, and there's that sort of natural human reaction to spaz out because there's a spider web across your face and, whatnot. And so I thought to myself, well, what if you were to combine those two? Because I can't think of anything more terrifying than a spider web that you can't see that then sets you on fire. So enter the intersection of these two phenomenon, fire spiders. They weave near invisible webs of silk that is doped with certain chemicals. When prey touches the web, it both sticks to them and then ignites with an intense but nigh unseeable flame.
Nigh unseeable.
Nigh unseeable. The spiders themselves are fairly large, like the size of like a cat or a dog, and they eat voraciously from the remains of their immolated and entrapped prey. They have the following stats. Initiative 6, attack +3 with a D8 damage bite that also contains paralytic poison, DC 14 fortitude save. They can spin a fire web, which is basically a trap. It'll do D8 damage per round and has a variable entangle DC of a 10 to 18 depending on the size of the web, and that is against reflex. They've got 3d4 hit points, an AC of 16, and saves of +3 fort, +5 reflex, and +2 willpower. And they are just waiting there for you to be a bastard in your games when you are the judge.
Nice.
Yeah, I thought so. Well, I think we've got an episode here, Jim.
I think we got one.
Okay, we should probably close or something.
Yeah, I think we should be done.
Okay.
All right, we're wrapping up here. Let's do some announcements. All right. Had to get another sniffle in there. All right. So some MCC news. There is a new module by Brendan LaSalle on the market. It is a 0-level funnel. It is called Seeking the Post-Humans. So go pick that up. Some upcoming cons. You called them the second half cons in the show notes, I guess because it's the second half of the year?
Correct.
Wouldn't GenCon be a second half con?
No, GenCon is like the halfway point of the year.
Halftime.
Yeah.
All right. What I got here is Save Against Fear, October 11th through 13th in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I will be there. Judge Evie will be there, and Brendan LaSalle will be there.
Nice.
So, yeah, I know. Good representation there at Save Against Fear. And then December 6th through the 8th, there is PAX Unplugged in Philadelphia, in which case I will be there. I think Brendan's going to be there. Judge Evie's going to be there. And we're going to start another campaign to get Mark to come back down. So
yeah, I need to look at finances and hoteling prices before I can make that call. I would like to go. We'll see whether or not that works out.
Cool beans. All right. How to contact us? Well, on Twitter, it's @Glowburn. Email, it's glowburnpodcast@gmail.com. There is the Glow blog, which is glowburn.blogspot.com. Mark, where are you at?
I am on Twitter at INSPStrikes, INSP Strikes. And my blog is inspstrikes.blogspot.com. Same spelling. The blog has not been updated in a while because reasons. What about you, Jim?
I live for crits. And then now I'm on Twitch with Judge Evie, which is twitch.tv/livingforcrits.
Dun, dun, dun.
Also watch our back catalog on YouTube, which just search for Living for Crits. You'll find it all.
And special thanks and credits our shaman of intros, outros, and bumper, Bob the Voice Brinkman. Our patron AI of audiovisual engineering, Hector the Missile Cruz, who certainly has his work cut out for him this episode. Our creative advisors, the lost Google Plus community, which is eternally XXX strong.
XXX.
And the intro-outro song is by Chronox. It is off the Voyager album, and the song is called Juno. Any parting words, Jim?
Long live Mucosatron Rex.
And I'm just going to say it's been a GenCon, and now it's been Gen done. See you guys later.
Night, everybody.
Ariel, Ookla, ride!
Tear down this wall. out of your enemy makes you stronger.
This has been a Hectophonic production. The gun is good, the gun is good, the gun is good, the gun is good, the gun is good. Hector, I'm starting. All right.